how you can make a presentation saying that a $400 million payment will come into the system when the Province Water Supply Board, if you build it from scratch, is worth $402 million. And you're talking about a concession. So you're talking about a lease over 30 to 50 years.
Yep.
You're not going to get $400 million. 25% of any transaction like this, which I consider to be A, immoral, and B, completely impractical, gets eaten up. So take 25% away, that's $300 million. $300 million does not solve the pension crisis once and for all, or at all. You end up with $700 million, and that is not going to go to improving schools or improving any of the things that you're promising. What you are doing, and I don't know how you continue to make these presentations, is you're coming before us hoping that no one has any information or any ability to do research on these incredibly unethical type of deals which fail over and over in 600 cities in the United States and abroad. The only success stories that any of you have been able to name are beyond New Jersey, where rates were supposed to be stabilized for 4 years and went up 28%, and now rates there are described as exorbitant by the very people who champion them. Allentown, Pennsylvania, which went into $36 million arbitration with its private water provider, and Rialto, California, which saw a 68% rate increase. I am stunned that you continue to present this as some kind of a solution when it is nothing but taking something that actually works, one of the few departments in the city that actually works, and you're putting it at risk. You're making an enormous gamble that will hurt every single one of us in this room and every single one of us in this state. I am amazed that you continue to pretend that this is a solution when all it is a source of new and more critical problems.
I think there might have been a few questions in there. First, you're right, the asset as is currently valued is at $400 million. Generally speaking, in transactions, it's not necessarily, we're giving an example. Sometimes those transactions could be more or less depending on the market. And I would just note that if there was a $300 million infusion into the city's pension liability, it actually would be a meaningful investment. The city's not going to solve the whole $1 billion. What we're trying to do is to have better, more sustainable payments to pay off the long-term liability. So the way I think about it is essentially refinancing the mortgage to a monthly payment that's more affordable. So
your mortgage, it's our mortgage.
Exactly. Who pays for it? It's not the city.
Right. No, you're fair. I'm just giving the mortgage example. So apologies on that, but I was just kind of giving an example of what's relatable to potentially a homeowner. But again,
it's a mortgage on you, not on us.
Okay. And then in terms of examples,
My life ain't for profit either.
okay. For examples that you gave, the one that was in New Jersey and the Allentown, Pennsylvania. Allentown, Pennsylvania is in litigation because the city misvalued its asset. Again, that was a very unfortunate move for them to make. And the other ones we mentioned, again, they entered into transactions based upon it being a financial crisis. We are trying to avoid going into a crisis by having this conversation with you right now. I don't know if
mentioned
Jeff...
those examples as success stories in the past, and now you're retracting. That's good. That's nice.
I'll just say, I think you mentioned the gamble and this being a gamble that we shouldn't take. I think it's very important for us to all realize that doing nothing is the biggest gamble. Because if we do nothing, all of these things that we're all worried about potentially happening become much more likely to happen. If the city were to ever become insolvent, if the city were to end up in a bankruptcy, all of these things that we're worried about happening to Providence Water...
We're not saying do nothing, we're saying don't do...
We're not saying not do nothing.